Injuries, COVID protocols, they're all wrecking the 2021 NBA playoffs, and it's getting kind of crazy. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, it's Devin Howard. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can find me there as @DevinHoward. Double check that you've subscribed to the Fumble, tap the bell for notifications, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. The playoffs look different this year than they have in years past. For one, it's the first time we haven't seen LeBron or Steph in the finals in practically a decade. But beyond that, injuries are plaguing teams across the league, and they're changing the way the playoffs look. Playoffs have always been at least partially determined by injuries. The Raptors won in 2019 after Klay and KD went down with season-ending injuries, and the Warriors certainly benefited when Kawhi went down with an ankle injury in the 2017 championship. But in 2021, I feel like we're seeing a lot more extremely tragic injuries happen to big-name players in the league. AD went down with a groin injury right before halftime in Game 4 of the Lakers' first-round series against the Suns. It prevented him from playing in the second half. He was already listed as questionable prior to that game due to a knee strain, so all around, he was definitely not at his healthiest. LeBron suffered that high ankle sprain in the regular season, and when he did return and suited up for the playoffs, it was pretty obvious that he wasn't feeling 100% like his old self. Without a fully healthy AD and LeBron, the Lakers are not the dominant squad they can be, and this first-round exit is the first in LeBron's career, so things definitely looked different for him. Joel Embiid injured his knee in Game 4 against the Washington Wizards and couldn't play in the second half of that game. Luka Doncic had a nerve issue in his neck that definitely looked like it was bothering him towards the end of Game 3 in the first-round series against the Clippers. According to the Mavs head coach, Luka could not turn his head left. This is obviously a huge hurdle to overcome for a guy that relies on peripheral vision throughout the game. James Harden was out for several games due to that hamstring injury, and even though he was able to return in the second round, he didn't look like he was feeling his best. In fact, you could kind of tell that that injury was still bothering him. Kyrie went down with a sprained ankle in Game 4 of the second-round series against the Bucks, so KD was left to basically carry the team himself. Without the support of Kyrie and a fully healthy James Harden, the Nets definitely don't look like that super team we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. And then in the most recent development, Kawhi Leonard is out with a knee injury, and he is one of the most irreplaceable members of the Clippers squad, so this one is going to hurt the LA team pretty badly. Finally, we have to talk about CP3. Chris Paul went into his time with the Suns and completely transformed the team. His veteran experience and leadership skills turned that team into a title contender. And just as they made it to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in forever, he was placed into health and safety protocols after a positive COVID-19 test. This is a tragic hurdle for any team to overcome, and it certainly must have felt like a punch in the gut for those rooting for the Suns in the Western Conference Finals. So it's safe to say this season has seen its fair share of hurt players, and in the playoffs, we're seeing injury after injury after injury. So what is happening here? What is the deal? Well, for some teams, the shortened offseason could be a factor. Some athletes had less time to recover, so the strain on their bodies is intense. But for the teams who didn't appear in the bubble or had an early exit, how can we explain this? Is this just part of the game? Whenever you're playing high-intensity basketball, the risk for injury is there. We know this. I think the teams in the playoffs right now are feeling the pressure. The competition is stiff and the stakes are high, so these guys are pushing themselves maybe more than they should, resulting in some serious injuries. There's no time for breaks, there's no time for breathers, so these guys are going into these games with a do-or-die mentality. I always appreciate that kind of focus, but if it comes at the expense of your health, it's not worth it. I also want to mention that we did see a condensed NBA schedule this season, and I think having so many back-to-back games was just a lot of strain on these athletes' bodies. And now that we're approaching the end of the season, they're just kind of crumbling under all of the pressure and all of the physical activity that they're putting their bodies through. LeBron even came out and criticized the NBA for this condensed schedule. He said that he warned everybody that this would happen at the start of the season. Of course, the NBA was motivated to go forward with this shortened game schedule because they wanted to take advantage of some of the monetary benefits they'd get. It is wild to consider how different this postseason looks and how some people might even say this championship win will have an asterisk next to it. Here's why. The league's greatest player, LeBron, is not going to be in the finals. That alone is a challenge these teams simply will not have to overcome. The league's super team, the Nets, won't be a super team at all with an injured James Harden and an out Kyrie. We thought the Nets were going to be the surefire champions, but now that doesn't seem as likely. The teams are depleted, some of the league's greatest players are out, so now the race to the top seems just a little bit less treacherous. Now, I'm not one to say, oh, that finals win has an asterisk next to it, it doesn't mean as much. I think that no matter what, these athletes are going through a lot, putting their bodies through a lot in order to win and walk away with the championship. But if any season would have an asterisk next to it, I feel like it might be this one. What do you guys think about all of this? Sound up in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell. I'm Devin Howard for The Fumble, and I'll see you guys later.